Hi, everyone, and welcome to day 4 of Freeplay 2020. My name is Chad Toprak. My pronouns are he, him. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that Freeplay hosts and broadcasts from the stolen lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, where stories have been shared and games have been played since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to anyone watching who has a connection to the world's oldest continuing culture. Sovereignty was never ceded, and the violence of the colonial project is ongoing. Freeplay also stands in solidarity with Black communities, both here and around the world, against prejudice, injustice, and violence. Black Lives Matter is not a new or revolutionary statement, but it is one that needs to be said and said again and said louder. Since this is the first session for the day, I'd also like to quickly thank our partners, City of Melbourne, VMDO, VoiceWorks, and our sponsors, Mountains, Hipster Whale, and League of Geeks. So welcome to the session, Video Chat Games Adapted from Improv Comedy. Our hosts today are Melissa McGlensey and Douglas Wilson. Melissa is a Melbourne-based comedian and writer. In addition to being a regular contributor to the Batuta Advocate and Reductress, Melissa is also a company member of Sooth Players, Completely Improvised Shakespeare, and the director of Melbourne's Completely Improvised Potter. Doug is a co-owner of Digute Fabrik, a game studio based in Copenhagen, Denmark. He's worked on a number of award-winning video games, including Johann Sebastian Joust, Sports Friends, and Mutazione. Doug now lives in Melbourne, Australia, where he is a lecturer at RMIT University, teaching and researching game design. And I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah. Hello. Hi, everyone. We're going to introduce everyone in just a second, but big thanks to Chad and to Freeplay. It's a total honor and a pleasure to be involved doing this session. Hello to my co-host, Melissa, who is actually in the other room.
Yeah, I'm like 10
just
feet away.
but that's okay. Yeah, so welcome. Big thanks ahead of time to all our brave participants who are going to play some cool games with us that hopefully we can teach to all of you who are watching either live in the YouTube or maybe watching after the fact, the recorded version of this. So brief intros to us. Melissa, you go first.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that Doug and I are a couple and we come from two very different worlds. I come from the world of comedy and him the world of games. So for us, this was a rare opportunity to kind of overlap those worlds and come at something from our dual perspectives. I teach improv regularly, and I have taught some of these games in an in-person version, including last year at Freeplay, which was very fun.
I sometimes teach some of these games in my game design class as well. So same games, but different purposes, whether it's for Melissa's comedy troops or for me thinking about game design with students. And we'll try to like mix those two perspectives during the workshop. Now, before we get started, we don't want to take too long, but just to introduce all of the players that we have here. I will go, and I have to call them out one by one because on different Zoom clients, we all have a different, like a randomized arrangement of the people in the boxes. So to solve this, I'll go through and I'll hit everyone. I'll ask you to just to say hello, and maybe just say where you are in the world right now.
If you want to.
If you want to, because I know we're some of us are in scattered locations. So let's restart again with Chad. Hey, Chad, I know you just said you're going to play with us. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So my name is Chad Toprak, and I'm based here in Melbourne.
Great. Kwa, do we have Kwa here?
Yes, I'm Kwa, and I'm a game designer in Sydney.
Hello. George.
Hello. I'm from Central Coast, New South Wales. Yeah.
Hey, Grace.
Hey, I'm Grace. I'm based in Wellington, New Zealand.
Cool. Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm based in Sydney as well.
Great. Lachlan.
Good day. My name is Lachlan Dwyer. I'm a videographer from East Melbourne.
Great. Kane. Do we have Kane here?
G'day, I'm Kane. I'm based in Melbourne.
Cool. Do we have Jovi here?
Hi, I'm Jovi. I'm a programmer based in Singapore.
Okay. Mohammed.
Hi, I'm Mohammed. I'm tuning in from very South Victoria.
Cool. We have Lewis.
Hey, I'm Lewis. I'm based in Brisbane at the moment.
Great. We have Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor, and I'm based in Melbourne.
And we have Ted.
Hi, I'm Ted, and I'm nearabouts to San Francisco.
Yeah, cool. Did I miss anybody? No, great. Okay. Well, great to see people from a bunch of different cities in Australia and some other countries. So that's great. That's perfect. Melissa, do you want to say anything about, so they might recognize some of these games. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, by a raise of hands, does anyone here have any experience with improv? Taken any classes or couple, cool. So if you have, you might recognize some of these games, but they might have different names. One of the things I love about improv is it's got this sort of messy oral tradition type way of passing along the games. So if at any point you're like, that's not what they called it, that might be why. And being an American improviser in Australia, I run into this all the time. Everything has 5 different names.
And so one of the things you'll see is that these games often have a pedagogical purpose in improv, and Melissa will talk a little bit about that per game. But part of what we're doing here today, because Freeplay is a little bit more of like a games and a play audience, is we've selected games that also work not just as like teaching tools for improv, but also are like fun kind of in themselves, and work well for social play. Even if you're not like training to become improvisers on a public stage or something. So we've actually had to modify a couple of the games, both for online video chat and to like refocus towards social play more than just improv training. But again, Melissa will talk a little bit about that more game by game.
Yeah, and normally if I were teaching this as an actual improv workshop, I would be making sure to leave room after each game for discussion and talking about how it made us feel and what we learned from it. But in the interest of time, we're going to leave that to the very end if we have time. Then we'll open it up to discussion about what were our favorites, what they taught us, etc. But we decided for this workshop to prioritize teaching more games rather than fewer that we get to discuss more.
And just, I think everyone knows this, but we are recording the workshop. So streaming live to YouTube now will be available after the fact. So, and I am, Melissa, I don't know if that's your end. Try muting yourself. I'm hearing a weird computer echo. Yeah, cool. Anyway, hello to everyone on YouTube. We are recording. And yeah, and Melissa, it may help to put on headphones if you have them. If not, we'll just keep going. Yeah, or put the volume down maybe, because I think we were getting a feedback loop on the audio there. We're gonna start with some simpler warm-up games, and then we're gonna like more and more lean into the kind of affordances of video chats, more and more throughout the workshop as we go. But first, we're gonna start with some simpler games. Melissa, do you want to explain our first game?
Yes, this is one called Mr. Whiskers. This is how the game works. Yeah, I see someone's familiar. I see that. I noticed that. Great. So there are 3 options and they each come with a gesture. I'm going to do them once, and then if you'd repeat after me, it'll help us all learn. So the first one is Mr. Whiskers. Mr. Whiskers. Great. The second one is whiskey mixers. Whiskey mixers. And the third one, I think you're sensing a pattern here, is misty vistas. Misty vistas. Great. If at any time you are called upon, you can do any of those three except for the one that was used to call upon you. So you can do any of the three options except for the one that was previous. If you fail, and failing comes in a variety of forms, they could include forgetting to say the proper action with the proper words. They could also include laughing. In this game, laughter is failure. So if at any time that happens, you must punish yourself. And the way you punish yourself is by spinning around in a circle. So I've got a little bit of space here. So if I mess up, I'm gonna do a spin like this. If you don't, then I advise you to stand up and run around in a circle or around your desk or twirl. Doug is demonstrating, great. It's up to you to adequately punish yourself. So decide how to adapt that to your surroundings. I'm comfortable with leaving that up to you. Great, so.
I'm lying in bed, so.
Great, adapt however you feel necessary. Maybe spin your computer around. I don't know, it's up to you. Or don't fail. You know?
So we'll demonstrate slowly with a couple of rounds. So we'll start slow and then we might speed up as we go, but we'll take it easy for the first few. We'll each just be calling on someone from anyone you want in the chat, and maybe we'll also try to kind of hit everyone as we go. So Melissa, for example, do you want to start by calling on me first?
I'm starting us off. Mr. Whiskers, Douglas.
Whiskey Mixers, Chad.
Oh, you're gonna have to unmute.
Oh, right. Everyone should unmute.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Mr. Whiskers, Mo.
Misty Vistas, George.
Mr. Whiskers, Taylor.
Whiskey Mixes, Kane.
Misty Vistas, Grace.
Mr. Whiskers, Lewis.
Whiskey Mixes,
Jovi,
I'm lost anyway. I'm gonna
Spin, baby, spin.
Oh.
Like a bad boy.
Sorry, Jovi, could you say that one more time? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, so on me? Okay. Misty Vistas, Qua.
Mr. Whiskers, Jay.
The Vistas, George.
Mr. Whiskers, Kane.
Whiskey Mixes, Chad.
Misty Vistas, Lachlan.
Mr. Whiskers. Melissa.
Excellent. I'm going to keep this going, but we are all not failing far too much. So we're going to speed this up double time. And don't be afraid to fail. You know, failing's fun. Great. So I'm going to go. Misty Vistas, Grace.
Whiskey Mixes, Douglas.
Misty Vistas, Taylor.
Mr. Whiskers, Ted.
Whiskey Mixers, Muhammad.
Misty Vistas, shit.
And this, by the way, includes spectators. If you laugh as a spectator, I need to see some punishment.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that hand over the mouth, Taylor. I want to see some spit.
Stoic.
Oh.
Where we leave off?
Mo.
Misty Vistas, Kane.
Whiskey Mixes, Melissa.
Misty Vistas, Grace.
I think Grace is frozen.
I think
Grace
we
is
lost Grace.
Melissa, pick someone else.
I will redirect it. Misty Vistas, Taylor.
Mr. Whiskers, Mo.
Whiskey Mixes, Chad.
Mr. Whiskers, Ted.
Misty Vistas, Douglas.
Whiskey Mixers, Lewis.
Wait.
Okay, Doug does it.
Oh
He looks
no,
like a
I have to
cat.
spin now.
We'll go Jai. So
Where did we leave off?
Sure.
is it Jai?
Jay.
Jay? Oh,
Jay.
sorry, Jay. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I completely lost where we got up to.
That's fine. Why don't you just start
I
a new
failed.
one?
So.
Okay.
Jay, go ahead, start a new one. And remember, everyone, double time.
Okay. Misty Vistas, Chad.
Whiskey mixes Melissa.
Misty Vistas, Grace. Oh, Grace is still frozen. Misty Vistas, George.
Mr. Whiskers, Qua.
Mr. Vistas, Joby.
Mr. Vistas, Douglas.
Oh, that was the previous one. You got to spin.
Whiskey mixers, Lachlan.
No. Oh, that was Whiskers.
Sorry, I'll do that again. Whiskey mixers, Lachlan.
Visty Misters, George.
Visty Mistas.
Misty Vistas.
All right. I'll call it there.
Yeah, cool.
Very fun. Great. Doug, did you want to talk about it?
So Melissa, tell us a little bit, how would that, because some of that translates to video chat, some of it maybe not quite as much, and that's part of the discussion here. How would this work in person if you were doing this at an in-person improv workshop?
Yeah, in person, this looks like something a lot of improv and improv rehearsals look like, which is cultivated chaos, right? If you're standing in a circle and sending this around the circle, it gets fast, it gets messy, people are laughing, they're running. Normally we do it as you run around the circle. And, there's points at which someone really messes it up bad, and then the entire circle's running and there's no one to keep it going, etc. So we didn't quite achieve that level of chaos here, but you can see how that happens. And we do this exercise for a lot of reasons. It's a really good icebreaker. It helps with names. And most importantly, it teaches what is a really important tenet of beginner improv, which is spontaneity. And trusting yourself to just say a thing. It's not always going to be the right thing, but at least you have said it, you've contributed. And a really important lesson to take from this is failure is often much more fun than perfect execution, right? I mean, you could really it's funny, when you play with games people, we want to get it right. We want to win, we want to succeed. When you let go of that and just really enjoy the failure, it can be a lot more fun sometimes.
And from that game design point of view, we could, and this will be true of some of the exercises as well, we could look at Mr. Whiskers as a kind of co-op game, essentially, right? Like, how smoothly can we keep it running, but then also the joy of all kind of laughing at the same time, and suddenly the whole thing devolves into chair spins. So we'll see that kind of co-op-ish kind of energy running through a number of these games. Melissa, in the interest of time, why don't we're going to keep moving on. We have about 6 or 7 games that we wanted to share with everyone. So the next game, which I'll teach, I call Convergence. Melissa, I think you sometimes call it Mind Meld. Is that right?
Yeah, it comes by a bunch of different names, but Convergence or Mind Meld are the main.
So Melissa and I we'll do the first round, and then we'll slowly start bringing in people. In this version of the game, we're going to have 2 people go at once. But as we'll explain, there are some variations here. So me and Melissa are each going to start the round by coming up with a totally random word. So on the count of 3, me separately, I've imagined some word. Melissa, you imagine some word, and we'll say it at the same time. Okay. 3, 2, 1, iron.
Pancake.
So we have pancake and iron. Okay, so those were that's a kind of a total random, we just each came up with a word. And now the challenge of where this game actually starts is we're gonna go 3, 2, 1, and us or the next pair of people will now say a word, but the word's no longer random. They are trying to converge on the same word. And let me, be careful about maybe if everyone could like mute their mic while we're explaining the games, because I think we're, especially for people without headphones, we're echoing a little bit. Great, thanks. So we know that we have iron and pancake, and so without pre-planning, the next two people are going to try to guess what maybe some word would be at the center of those two concepts, or what the other person is going to say, because you want to converge and say the same exact word. So Melissa, let's just do one more round, and then we'll start bringing in other people.
So we're continuing on the same thread?
Yeah, so we had iron and pancake. Let's go. I think we can actually do this in one go, but let's see. 3, 2, 1, pan. Oh, I thought we had that for sure.
I thought you were on my level.
So we were not mind melded there. So let's bring in, what we're gonna do is bring one person in at once, and we're gonna see, and you'll see if we don't quite converge, we'll see these concepts wander in a strange way until finally you get that really good feeling of like being in the other person's mind and saying the same word at the same time. So we have pan and girdle. So Melissa, why don't you keep going, but I'll bring in a new person. Mohammed, why don't you join in with Melissa? And so what would be in the middle, or what would the other person say for pan and girdle? Okay, I'll count down and then we can say it at the same time. Do you both have a word in mind?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Cook.
Saucepan.
Okay. We're still like kind of circling around. We have cook and saucepan. So why don't Mohammed stay, and then we'll bring in a new person. Taylor, why don't you jump in as well? So we had cook and saucepan. Do you both have a word?
Yes.
And thank you, Melissa was noting to me in the chat, you cannot repeat a word that's been said previously. So you could not go back to pan, for example. Saucepan kind of counts because it's a different word, but you wouldn't want to go back to iron, for example. Okay, let's do this. 3, 2, 1.
Pasta.
Oil.
Okay. Getting there, still dancing around it. We have pasta and oil. So Taylor, stay on. Why don't we bring in Jovi? I'm just picking people randomly. So.
And oil, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Do you both have a word for the next?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Alia.
Damn it. Jovi, what did you say?
Alia olio.
Yeah.
Garlic oil, Italian.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Now, Melissa, when you're teaching this in person, and we'll keep going, but when you're teaching this, what kind of tips would you give your students?
I would remind them to zoom out instead of listing a bunch of specifics, which can get hard because then you've burned all the specifics. Zoom out and think about concepts or themes that are the like connecting tissue between the words, if you can.
So let's have Jovi stay in, and can we bring in Kwa?
Okay.
So you have a next set of words.
Yes.
You had aioli and pesto. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Italian.
Sauces. Yes.
Oh, I wanted to say sauces, damn it.
Close. So let's do a couple more and we'll see if we can get it. It feels really good if you do get it. Italian and sauces. Kwa, stay on. Let's bring in Ted. Maybe the two of you can converge.
Well, we got this. Come on, just get.
Do you both have a word?
Yeah.
Can the word repeat from a previous round? Or?
No, that's the key rule. Yeah.
Got Italian and sauces.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Bolognese.
Cuisine.
Bolognese and cuisine. Okay. Ted stays on. We'll do like, let's see if we can get there. Grace. Ted and Grace. We had bolognese and cuisine. Do you both have a word?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Lasagna.
Oh,
lasagna.
So
No!
close. Wow. All right, we're gonna do last one, Grace and George, maybe. And it gets harder because you can't reuse words, but we had spaghetti and lasagna last try, and it's okay if we don't get it. Oftentimes, the group that I teach the first time doesn't end up converging. So do you both have an idea? Spaghetti and lasagna, what could be convergence of those? Are you ready?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. 3, 2, 1.
Food.
Tomatoes.
Oh, that's okay.
Well.
Close. Good. Thank you to all our volunteers. So for some of the games, we might not get every single person in, because if we had more time, we'd probably play a few rounds of this. And in fact, there's different ways that we can actually vary this game. Melissa, do you want to talk about like some of the more radical ways you can play this in person?
Yeah, for improvisers, this game becomes kind of a staple. We'll do it often right before a show because it helps you focus in and tap into a thing we call group mind. I've even been known to play with my teammates or with classes a giant version where it's like 8 people all at once trying to say the same word, which is really fun. And the way it works is we all stand in a circle, everyone says a word, and anyone who says the same word goes and stands behind each other. So eventually you end up with like one person and a giant line of all your teammates, which can be quite intimidating. But eventually we all get on the same page that way.
Cool. Let's keep blazing along. And again, we'll give like a little break halfway between, but let's keep going. Melissa, do you want to explain the next game?
Yeah, the next game is one of those improv folk games that might seem familiar, but it is called Proverbs. And the way it works is we are going to tell a piece of advice, a little pithy bit of wisdom, but we are going to do it using only one word at a time. So each person only gets to say one word. And what I like about this game is it's kind of supposed to be leaderless, meaning when the proverb is over is a communal decision, right? It's whenever we all feel collectively like, yeah, that's the proverb. And to end it and put a period on the end of that proverb, we all go, yes, 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 yes. And we stroke our like wise old sage beard.
Or chin.
Or your chin.
Yeah.
You just do like a yes, yes, yes. But again, that's harder to do remotely because in person we would have eye contact. You could feel a sense in the room. We finished the proverb. So here, when it feels right to you, throw in that yes, 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 and we know the proverb is over.
Melissa, let's just demonstrate because we can do this really quick, just me and you, and then we'll bring in a group of players to do this. Okay, I'll go. Never.
Ever.
Go.
To.
The.
Pond.
When.
It.
Is.
Snowing.
Yes, 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 yes.
And once we finish it, it's sometimes fun to repeat it to absorb that wisdom.
Melissa, let's repeat this. Never ever go to the pond when it is snowing. Yeah.
It's good advice.
Is it? Okay, so let's instead of doing all of us at once, although we can try a variation with that coming up, let's do the first way. Let's just get like maybe 4 of us. So can we volunteer, maybe like put your hands up and I'll just take, so Ted, we can do Lachlan, Kane, and Jovi are the first I saw. So let me in our chat, which YouTube can't see, in our chat, I'll make an order just so that you can all see. So we'll go Ted, and who did I say? Lachlan,
Kane Jovi.
Jovi, Kane Jovi. Okay, so that'll be, and you can now all see it in the chat. That'll be the order. Again, it would be like amazing if Zoom allowed us to like order the boxes ourselves. That's such that was like the same for all of us, because then we could just see it. But sadly, that is not the technological affordance that this platform gives us. So we'll just use this kind of. Oops, sorry, I messaged that privately to Melissa instead of everyone in the chats. There we go. Ted, Lachlan, Kane, and Jovi. So we'll keep going around in that kind of order. And then when the four of you like roughly feel the proverb is done, you can yes. All right. So Ted, kick us off.
When
You
are
going
to
sleep.
Kane, I think you're next.
Yeah, I missed Lachlan's word. Sorry.
When you are
Sleep.
going to sleep.
Don't
ever
look
Up.
at
the
ceiling.
yes.
Yes.
Let's when you are going
When you are going
to
to
sleep,
sleep,
don't
ever
look up
at
the ceiling.
the ceiling. Internet latency is amazing.
Fantastic advice.
Sleep belly down.
Melissa, should we get 4 more people to give it another try, and then we can try the chaos one,
Yep.
which may or may not work, but that's also kind of the point. Do we have 4 different people who want to do another quick? Mohammed, George, Jay, and Lewis. So let me give into our chat, which YouTube can't see, unfortunately, but Mohammed, Lewis, Jay, George will do as the order, which you can look at in the chat for a handy reminder. So Mohammed, can you kick us off?
Once.
Did you say once? Sorry. Yeah. Once you
leave.
What
was that? Sorry.
Out there.
Once you leave the
room,
don't
look
at
the
carpet.
Because
it
knows
who
was
there
before
you
were
I lost where we are.
I think we finished it.
Yes.
Yeah. yes.
Once you, and this is good. That's a good lesson. The further it goes, the harder it is to remember. So it was something like, once you leave the room, don't look at the carpet because it remembers.
It knows who you were.
It knows
before.
who you were before. And then it wasn't sure.
Then I lost it.
Yeah.
Very wise message in there somewhere.
Genuinely horrifying.
Yeah, that was good. It suddenly took a turn into a kind of like horror movie. Very good. Melissa, should we try the chaos version quick?
Sure. I think it'll be chaos.
Yeah. So this would work better in person, but to explore the limitations and opportunities of video chat, let's just give this a go. So now it's open floor. So there's no longer an order, and anybody on the call, feel free to unmute your mic and say a word. Occasionally we might get this conflict where two people kind of say a word at the same time, and we're just gonna have to like massage our way through that and keep going and try to like force ourselves through the path. And that may or may not work. And I'll kick us off. So I'll say the first word and then anyone just chime in. Okay.
Would it be worth someone typing as we go along? Because I think it'd be easy to remember.
That's right.
So I can do the typing.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Kane. That's a great suggestion. We've done that in some previous calls, right? So we can have someone like kind of a scribe following along. And again, that'll be, if you're watching along, we're only going to do that in our private chat, which you can't see. But that'll maybe, that's a cool affordance, right? And we'll see this in some other games. Using this text chat of a video call can help us mark things that we wouldn't easily do in person if we were playing this. So thank you, Kane, who's going to type this. I'll go. Always.
Remember.
That. It.
Never.
Was.
What?
You.
Think.
It.
Was.
Yes.
Do
you see how we all felt that? Everyone was like, yeah, that's the end.
Always remember that it never was what you think it was. Good advice.
Yeah, that's the best that's ever gone. I think having a chat record really helps.
Yeah, great. So that's an amazing suggestion. And one of the nice things about these games, like many simple folk games, is that we can modify them on the fly. We can try different variations really easily. Like, someone like we had Kane just say, we should have a scribe, and then we could just do that easily. So and we'll do that with a couple of these other games, but that's kind of the pleasures of these simple games that we can try quick variations for.
Yeah, and when I teach this in an improv class, it's really helpful for newbies, beginners who are nervous, because the burden of participation is so small. You only have to contribute one word to keep it moving, which is really kind of like a beautiful metaphor for how improv works, right? It's not your job to drag the entire scene and all the comedy onto stage. You just contribute your bit and you build something together. It also teaches this concept I touched on briefly of following the follower and wanting to really investigate whether we're just following one leader, if our voice is drowning out others, or if we are kind of like taking stock and seeing where we're all at and making decisions collectively.
Another thing to point out is there's like a slightly different flavor of this with playing it with like a games group versus an improv group. So with the games group, with me playing with my friends, one thing I like is this like passing the buck. So like, the way that Melissa was, I said never, and then she said ever. And so it's just like, nope, you're going to make the decision about the content of where the sentence is going. Or like, like throwing in that little flavor word just to kind of say to the other person, nope, haha, you have to make the decision, which is like a little playful riffing kind of. But Melissa, you were saying that's kind of the opposite of often what you're trying to teach in improv. Is that right?
Yeah, in improv, it can be an impulse we teach students to fight against. We call it hedging. It is this impulse that is like, I don't want to have to make the decision, so I'm going to stall. It can be fun in gameplay like this, but on stage, it can be like very exhausting to watch. If you've ever seen a bad improv show, you just want to yell, like, make a decision. So when I teach this, I do try and teach them to be decisive. And much like with Mr. Whiskers, saying a thing or doing something is better than doing nothing.
Yeah. Let's go on to the next game, which is very similar. So these games are kind of a pair. We're going to use the same gameplay mechanic, but we're going to structure it differently, which will give us a very different flavor, I think. So the next game, Dr. Know-It-All. This is another kind of famous improv game you may have heard of before. This is still going to be one word at a time. So with multiple people, we're going to take just 3 people though. And those 3 people are going to be the famous expert, Dr. Know-It-All. We're going to take in just a little bit an audience suggestion about what they are an expert on. Maybe they're the world expert on chocolate, or
that's me.
Zelda, or whatever, right? I will be a kind of like, I'll play as like a fake interviewer, as if we're like have the special opportunity to interview this amazing expert on this topic, and then I'll ask questions like I was some journalist, and then those 3 people are going to have to answer each question. We can maybe also take some follow-up questions from the chat or whatever. And so obviously now we have this like disconnect between you're supposed to be this incredible expert, but then you're giving these loopy one word at a time answers. And then for extra flourish, you can kind of like bow is like the version of stroking your chin when the expert is like done with their clearly incredible, wise answer.
And I would just add to whoever becomes our expert to remember that it can be fun to vary answer length. Your answer can be 1 word, it can be 10 words, it can be 5, it can be 20. It's up to you.
And I will actually, Melissa, can you scribe the answers? Let's go with that suggestion.
You mean in the chat?
Yeah, in our chat. Do I have maybe three different? Although our group is small enough that we're going to start, which is good, recycling people soon. Do we have 3 people who want to be Dr. Know-It-All? Okay, with Qua, Grace, and Kane. Great. And so let me do in that order, Qua, Grace, Kane. Let me put that to everybody in the chat. Why don't the rest of us hide our video so we can just see Dr. Know-It-All now? So we're gonna mute our video. Great. So we have our 3 experts. Our 1 expert, Dr. Know-It-All. I will introduce you, and then when I introduce you, Grace, Qua, or in order, Qua, Grace, Kane, say, and I'll write this in the chat, I'm really glad to be here, just as practice. Okay, so that'll be the first way that you introduce yourself after I introduce you, and then I'll start asking questions. Do we have any suggestions from our group? What Dr. Know-It-All is a world expert on? Feel free to type it into the chat. Slime molds, Ted says. Excellent. Let's go with that. All right. Welcome everyone to the chat. We are, and I'll show myself on video, then mute myself. We are incredibly lucky to have with us here in this special webinar Dr. Know-It-All, who, as obviously I don't have to say this, but all of you know, is the world expert on slime molds. This is incredible. This is like such a special opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Know-It-All, for joining us.
Really?
Glad
to
be
here.
Yeah. Wow. Great. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then we'll take some questions from our special webinar chat. So, Dr. Know-It-All, what got you into slime molds? Like, what was it as a child that you got really interested in them? Like, how did you get into slime molds in the first place?
Many
years
ago, I was putting slime molds in my nose.
Oh, wait. 1 word at a time.
Oh, I thought it was varied word length.
No. Sorry. This is good clarification. Melissa meant that the 3 of you might sometimes do a short answer. Good. Okay, so let's rewind. Dr. Know-It-All, what got you into slime molds in the first place?
Many
moons
ago.
I
went
to
a
very
small
cave
In.
Nebraska.
And.
That.
All.
Sorry, what was that? All?
All.
After. So that it says that all. Not sure how to connect.
Oh, sorry. And let all. Sorry. And that was.
When.
I.
Saw.
The.
Most.
Amazing.
Slime.
That.
I.
Had.
Ever.
Smelt.
Wow. Wow. Dr. Know-It-All, I have to admit, I'm quite surprised for you to talk about the smell. That's not something that I often think about, but that very astute point there. Can you tell us a little bit about your favorite slime smells? Like when you're making a slime mold, what is the kind of smell that you're trying to achieve often?
I.
Often.
Like.
The.
Smell.
Of.
Rotten.
Musty.
Children.
Dr. Know-It-All, I'm not really sure what I think about that. Can you speaking of the children, how would you inspire a kind of a new generation of slime mold fans to kind of get started with the hobby? What would be your number one tip for someone just kind of getting into slime molds?
Close.
Sorry, what was the word?
Close.
Your.
Mind.
And.
Let.
All.
Smells.
Dissolve.
Into.
Your.
Heart.
Whoa. The poetic. Very poetic. Thank you, Dr. No. Do I have any questions from the chat? Any very extremely rare opportunity to ask Dr. Know-It-All whatever you want. We have from Chad. Thanks, Chad. What is the future of slime? Where is this all headed, Dr. Know-It-All?
Downwards.
Towards.
The.
Hell.
Escape.
Of.
Cavernous.
Slimy.
Slime.
Wow, very pessimistic kind of prognostication here. That's really quite disappointing to hear, I think. I'll take another question or two from the chat. Lewis asked, what's your favorite slime from pop culture? You know, obviously slime has kind of been reflected throughout society. Do you have a favorite example?
No.
Not.
Flubber.
Flubber.
Not.
Flubber.
Flubber.
Never.
Flubber.
Wabba.
Very, very strong negative feelings towards flubber. Wow. Felt like that was a kind of sensitive issue there. In the interest of time, Dr. Know-It-All, I know you're really busy, so we better let you go. Thank you, everyone. Kind of, you could come on video now. Let's all give Dr. Know-It-All standing applause.
Wow, I really look forward to hearing more about the contentious point regarding flubber in the slime community.
Yeah, there was the controversial shots were fired. Great. So, Melissa, why don't you debrief first, and then I will as well.
Yeah. This game, again, similarities with Proverbs, small burden of participation. It also, unlike Proverbs, allows those not participating to play, which is fun. So the audience gets to ask questions, etc. This touches on a topic we refer to in improv as playing to the top of your intelligence. So when you put people on stage and ask them to make things up, Very frequently we find students play dumb because it is easier to claim no expertise than to claim a fake expertise on stage. It can also be to do with confidence, but we encourage students to play to the top of their intelligence, because in a scene, you might be endowed as an expert on some topic you've never heard of, or some avid reader of a genre you've never cracked, or whatever. And we ask players to pretend. So this is a good exercise in teaching them that, you know, you can feign expertise at any point.
And I hope the comparison with Proverbs is instructive, right? It's the same mechanic, but this dynamic of the Dr. Know-It-All having this much clearer audience kind of like changes the dynamic of like, even like, obviously if you were on a stage, you'd be performing this to the audience, but even here you're like kind of performing to the rest of the group. But then we also get the like passive participation of people like reacting, not just asking questions in the chat, but we had people going like, whoa, or like, you blew my mind. And so we had this kind of like layered degree of participation, which is I think one kind of cool aspect of these video chat platforms, where suddenly we have like multiple communication like modalities in a really explicit way that we can like use together in all sorts of interesting ways. Melissa, let's do one more game and then we'll give everyone a break, I think.
Okay.
Cool. So let's keep moving on. And this is where we're really now actually going to start leaning into the video part of video chats. So a lot of these games we started, you know, had only one word at a time or one gesture. We're going to like slowly start ramping up. Melissa, oh, why don't I explain Magic Pose, Melissa, and then you'll do the, okay. Here's a game called Magic Pose. And we'll start, Melissa will be our first volunteer, and then we'll give a couple other people a try. So Melissa's gonna leave the room in just a second, not quite yet. And then while Melissa's gone, we're all gonna come up with a gesture or pose, sorry, that she has to do. So for example, we could go like this, or maybe like right up to the camera or whatever, right? So we'll come up with that. Exactly, yeah. Right, we could make her dab or something. And now when she comes back, we all know what the pose is. She does not. Now, of course, she's gonna have to start miming around, trying to figure it out. And all we get to do is clap. So if we think that she's getting warmer, maybe we like small clap if maybe she's around the ballpark, and maybe if she like really hits it for a second, you like, so this is interesting. We have this like one-dimensional feedback. Like we don't even really have feedback of like, oh, you're doing this badly, other than stopping clapping. And the whole room, obviously, Melissa's gonna have to interpret this feedback because different people in the room are gonna clap slightly differently. And so for Melissa, this may be this funny but frustrating performance as she's puppeteering around trying to read our claps. Okay?
Or I might nail it right away.
Or she might nail it right away, which is very satisfying when that happens. We're gonna do, we came up with a way under COVID. Melissa's gonna go and wash her hands for 30 seconds, which is about the amount of time. And then she'll be, yeah, there she goes, happier to touch her face. Okay, so while she gives a big thorough COVID hand washing, any suggestions posed?
Can we do like laying down or like something very hard to guess?
Let's start a little easier for the first one, and then instead of full body, well, okay, should we do Ted's? Oh yeah. I can't even do it because yeah. Okay, so 3 fingers, smiling, head cock. Great. Okay.
Great.
So, okay, no one do the pose again now. We all know what it is. And that way, fun story while we wait for Melissa. In one of my classes when we did this, my students did make me dab. And then I realized it was dabbing, but that I forgot how to do an actual dab. And then I got a million okay boomers in the chat. So
okay, I'm coming back.
Be careful playing this game.
I'm coming back. Is it safe?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
We've got a pose. Good luck. And everyone, feel free to unmute yourself, and we'll clap for Melissa as we.
Okay.
I'm coming in. Get comfortable. No. Don't like this arm. Okay. We like, there's something with hands here. We kind of like that, but we're not sure. No, we don't know about that. No, this. Slightly better. Okay. 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 No. 3. We like 3. Is it this kind of 3? No, it's this kind. We like 3. Do we like it here? No, kind of. We do. And we want it here. No, we don't. Yeah, here's better. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, is this what we want? No. No. Kane did not like that. Okay. Here. Oh, I wish you could see some of your faces right now. It's very funny. Okay. Are we doing is this a Mr. Whiskers? No.
That would have been good. That would have been really good. Oh, I think that's close enough. Yeah, good work. Can we? Ted came up with the original suggestion. Ted, can you? Yeah.
What was I doing? I was doing that? That's pretty close. I'll take it.
It's really hard to indicate change the location of your fingers with clapping.
Yeah. It's really funny because you were also intensely invested in your faces. Like Kane was like, ah! And I said, I wish you could all see yourselves. And then I realized you can because it's video chat.
Right. That's another weird part of using video chat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa. Do we have another brave volunteer who wants to be the magic poser?
I would love to try this.
Yes. Great. Please.
I will go wash my hands.
Yes, thank you. Seems only fair because Ted gave the last suggestion. Now has to be the magic poser. Any suggestions what Ted should do?
I always like a classic, you know.
Classic.
What?
Should we do like one eye closed or something?
Yeah. It's either this or is it this? What are you guys feeling? It's mixed. It's a mixed vote here.
I don't know. Okay, let's do what Kane did. Yeah. Let's do that again.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, now don't do it in case he re-enters.
I think this is a hard one.
It is hard in that it involves both arms.
You can see when you do this with students, you can really mess with, oh, he's coming in.
You can look.
Good, Doug?
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. All right.
Good luck.
Oh, no. Okay. This is fun. Okay, so we like the one hand. We like the 5 fingers. I think. Do we like 4 more? We like 5. Okay, we like 5. We like it out here. Further. Okay. And then where do you guys like my head? Looking at the hand? Okay, looking at the hand. And then how's my hand rotate? Like, do you like this? Am I like that? Am I like, is this a pigeon? Is that what I'm doing? Oh man. Okay. Am I leaning further? Is it more about the extent? Okay, so it's closer in. I think. Some quiet claps, trying to look at faces. Okay, so got this here. Oh, the host has highlighted me. Now I can see myself.
I forgot. I should spotlight. So
it's okay. I'm gonna see if I can set the gallery view so I can still see all of your reactions. Okay. Okay. So out here somewhere, hand like this. We got 5 is good. Not closing the hand or doing anything. Okay. Okay. 5. And I'm looking at it. And then what am I doing? Okay. Is my other hand involved at all? See. Oh, am I like this? Am I like this? Am I doing? Oh, this is better. Am I? Oh, so this hand's up. I think up here. Is it out here? There's a cat on my lap. We're just okay. Okay, so my arm is off the screen. Am I doing one of these?
Yeah.
Close. Is it a big one of these? Okay, I'm watching. Oh. How am I doing? It's hard to look at you guys while I'm doing this. I need to hear your claps, even if they're just pithy little. Okay.
This is so good.
Give me just 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Are my legs doing anything? Okay. I see Kane doing his no hands. That's a good sign. Okay, so go like this. Go like. Oh, wait. What? Where's my? Is this closer or is it? This is like adjusting a TV antenna. Have you ever done that before? Like I'm trying to get you guys to get the best reception possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, we'll give you just a few more moments.
Okay.
We're getting close.
Oh, we're so close. Okay. Is this back?
Want to give him a hint, Douglas?
Say what?
Maybe you should give him a hint.
Oh, couldn't hear that. Say that one more time.
So maybe you should give him a hint.
Yeah. What hint? Someone give a hint.
Egypt.
Oh.
So.
I'm.
Yeah.
Is that close?
Yes.
You had the planes right. It was the bending.
I didn't have the orientation.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Guest appearance to this is Lucha. This is
that is
Hi,
amazing.
Lucha. Tell Lucha we love her very much.
Yeah, she assisted.
You're getting a lot of praise, Lucha. A lot of praise.
Wait, I didn't want to spotlight myself. How do I unspotlight a video?
Gallery view, maybe.
Yeah, just go back to
click and then you can do. Oh, maybe I don't know.
I think I just go to gallery. Maybe. Yeah, cancel the spotlight video. Great.
So that game, when we play it in improv in person, IRL, it can be done like all of these in a variety of different ways. one of the fun adaptations too is making it not just a pose, but an action. You know, I've seen it played before where like we're trying to get someone to like swing a bat or make a cup of tea, which is very fun also. This is an exercise stolen from clowning tradition. Improv shares a lot of boundaries with clown at times. And I really love it because both clowning and improv have this thing that I think is pretty unique to their specifics, which is you get to adapt what you're doing in real time, right? If it's a sketch, a play, stand up, and you're performing it and the audience hates it, you're out of luck. You have to perform the thing you've written. If it's improv or clowning, you are constantly given the opportunity to adapt to the feedback the audience is giving you, which I think is really special. So we often do this exercise to teach young clowns or improvisers, like, take stock. If the audience does not like what you're doing, chances are you don't like it either, and you can change it and adapt it and have a lot more fun in the process.
And then obviously doing this in this like really small frame of video chat is strange and limits us in some ways versus like it's much harder to do full body poses. But you can really start messing with the particular frame, right? Like we could do a gesture where you're like way in. Like I often find students don't seem to think that you can change the Z position as well as, and so some of that is like about blowing their minds with, or like asymmetrical or fingers. And so each pose, can you figure out some way? And then if you're the poser, you're like trying to run your mind through what are all the like assumptions that like I've been making.
Yeah, like for example, Ted mentioned, oh, you like my arm off screen. I didn't even think about how we could stipulate certain parts have to be like above or down.
Yeah. So that again, that's like, how does this change on a video call? What can, yeah, exactly, the pull-ups. What how can we use this really constrained box view? That's this like weird classic part of the experience of using video calls, and double down on the constraints.
I have a question. How important is it for the players in the room to try and balance challenge with allowing the participants to play well and actually enjoy it? Like, you know, you could come up with ways to make it extremely hard, but maybe that's not fun.
I think that depends on the context. For example, if I'm teaching a level 1 improv class, the emphasis is definitely on having fun, feeling safe, and letting them succeed. If I play at a more advanced level with like some of the ensembles I'm a part of, we've been together for, you know, half a decade, then we really enjoy challenging each other and subverting expectations and creating more difficult play. But I think it's important to like set that foundation for fun and letting people succeed at the games early on.
Yeah, I think, you know, if someone was floundering, you would definitely want to give them a hint. I think in Ted's case, part of the reason that went on, like the cat added a huge amount. Like it didn't matter that Ted was, it was like amazing to see the cat kind of, yeah, exactly. So that right, that's this like contextual factor that suddenly made it like more okay for that to go longer. So yeah, it's I think with a lot of these things, and that's not just true for the game runners, that's also true for the players, right? So Ted even referenced Kane, you know, had these like very expressive hands and facial expressions, right? So is that cheating? Like, yeah, but who cares? Like that's part of the texture of the game, right? Like in theory, we could get extremely game rulesy about it and go, oh, no information. We'll mute our video completely so that you can only hear audio information or whatever that it is. But like, no, actually, it's fun to like kind of give a little bit more information at the right time, and that's also up to the players to kind of figure out what the appropriate amount of that is, which is itself a kind of mind meld. Right, which is the kind of thing that we were exploring in some of the previous games.
I would also love someday to run this game either through video chat or IRL with a trader function where someone is there and their purpose is to mislead the performer, because we're all dealing with our own interpretation of what the pose is. So it's interesting to see, like I got excited when Ted put his arm down, but maybe someone else is like, no, it's about curving. So it's up for interpretation.
We have about 45 minutes left. We have 2 games. Again, we're gonna lean into the video. Let's give everyone just a quick 3-minute break. You can get up and stretch, get a drink of water. I guess Melissa will stay on the call in the meanwhile. I'll go to the YouTube if anyone wants to ask questions as we wait.
Yep.
But just give our players a 3-minute break. I'm gonna stretch a little in my chair. I know we're all probably used to the somehow being on a video call for hours, even though you're sitting in a chair, is very counterintuitively exhausting. Drink.
I've heard that the reason it's exhausting is because we're unnaturally posing for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
We get instant feedback on our faces, which is extremely unusual.
Yep. And also I'm a big sloucher, contorting my body melts into my chair in this awful posture way. So forcing myself to get up, or even not standing but stretching around. Sorry, let me go to the YouTube. To see.
So Doug, what's your doctoral thesis about?
Oh no, put on the spot. So I'm a researcher and a teacher at RMIT, and I 2012 wrote a PhD about folk games as they apply to physical video games, like gestural interfaces, physical game technology. So yeah, these kinds of games and this kind of social physical play. And this was, I think, part of the rationale behind this workshop, where, oftentimes Melissa's comedy world in one way is very separate to the independent games world in Melbourne, but then very quickly realizing, oh wait, these two worlds have a huge amount of interests in common with play and physicality and social coordination. So you really, and this is, really nice getting exposed to that whole world. You really quickly realize, wait, hold on, all of these different artistic disciplines often have so much in common. There's a lot to learn from each other.
So what's the question you're trying to answer? Just what the commonalities are, or how you can improve your game development?
For this workshop, or for the research?
The research.
Research is with I won't go into live on stream, but I am just kind of interested in doing different things with motion control technologies. What kind of fresh, fun, social things, lesser explored things can we do with these game input technologies to play in fresh or interesting ways together.
Cool. All right.
Which is, I think kind of what we're doing in this workshop in a way, right? How can we use, now that we're all stuck on these video chat calls under lockdown, how can we, we have our own cat, a little special appearance from Fiji the cat. Oh, the cats are friends now. Hello. Hello.
Hey, Doug, just kind of following up that question. I know it's kind of, there's the importance of physicality in space, but right now, when people have to be distributed, I work for Oculus, yay. Have you played with VR at all, and how that can create some of those same experiences and physicality and also abstract it in weird ways?
I have not. That's one I have with motion controller, like PlayStation VR will use those like PlayStation Move controllers. So I've played a lot with some of the apparatus around VR, but not with VR goggles themselves. I know Chad here actually has a couple really interesting pieces with VR goggles. But no, I would love to mess around with it more. It's just one. I've been myself playing a little bit more with like accelerometers and gyro. Oh, there's another Aslan. Is that right, Chad?
Yep.
Yeah. Hello, Aslan. But no, yes, I would love to play more with VR goggles, exercise bracelets, in this workshop, video chat platforms, right? What does it mean to play, not just in video chat, but with the medium of video chats? And so that playing with the medium of video chat is maybe a good segue, hopefully if people are back in the video call. We're going to continue leaning into like a Zoom and video chats.
I'm liking the percentage of cat owners. It's good.
Yeah, this is unexpected, but and very nice. cameos. Cat cameos. All right. I think Melissa, when she's, yeah. Melissa, let's keep going. We have these other two games, and you want to explain Chat Box Roulette?
Yes. Let me pull it up here. Sorry, it's not coming up. There we are. Great. So we're now going to move into a little bit more scene work heavy games. So far, a lot of the games we've been playing are ones I might do as warm-ups or introductions for new players. Now we are more in the territory of things we would do as actual exercises within the class. For this game, I am going to give you some kind of remote call scenario. So it's either, I don't know, a Zoom breakup or a Zoom date, or, you know, a child trying to convince their boomer parent why they need to social distance, etc. But something situated in the world of this remote conversation. You two are going to have a conversation, a discussion, a scene, what have you. Only in the meantime, the rest of us are going to be posting absolute nonsense in the chat. It could be any kind of phrase, words, sounds, etc. Let's not do anything offensive, please, but other than that. And at any point, you might get a bell sound during your scene. When you get that bell sound, you must turn immediately to the chat and read the first line that pops up. Could you hear Doug just demonstrating it? I couldn't hear it very well.
Oh, is it not loud enough? Okay.
Louder?
I'll try to make it louder, and if not, I'll just do it manually. I thought this would work, but maybe it's too low.
You probably just say ding.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll just say ding.
I've tried that as well, yeah. We need to get a physical bell.
I know, we need to get a physical bell, yeah.
Oh, look, Mo has a bell. Now that's just bragging. Anyways, so in order to assist us in this, I have prepared a little Google Drive folder here, which I am posting in the group. If your Zoom has background changing capabilities, feel free to grab a background from that folder and throw it up only when you are the participant. I mean, if you're really excited, you can do it while you wait, but and that'll help kind of set the scene. So between the like character relationship we give you and the background, we hope you have enough material to do a little scene for us.
Right, and just to review, the big mechanic here is occasionally I will go ding, and sorry that I have to annoyingly say that, but then whenever that is, you just scan the chat, and you have to now say and somehow weave into the conversation the last thing that was said.
And to be clear, the person, so it's a two-person scene, the person who says the line is the person who was speaking when the ding happened or who was speaking most recently. So if I had just finished a sentence and there's a pause and there's a ding, it's whoever spoke last. Also, the number of dings is a direct correlation to how many lines you have to read. So if you get 2 dings, you read 2 lines, etc.
And so it has to be weaved into the conversation naturally. We can't just like say them randomly.
That's up to you. I find it's fun to do a combination. It's fun to set them up like, Kane, there's something I really need to tell you. Chocolate is the devil, or like whatever. You know, it's fun to like give yourself a lead in, but it's also fun to just throw it in there and force yourself to justify it or your scene partner.
Melissa, why don't you go? I'll give you a topic. Why don't you go first as one of the 2 scene partners,
Cool.
and then we'll bring it. So does one person want to go with Melissa as our first volunteer? Just raise your physical hand.
I don't bite.
Any brave? Maybe some of the people with. Okay.
I do, but I'm holding back. So somebody else, please take it.
We had Jovi, who's got a background up and raised your hand. Great. So why don't we do Melissa and Jovi? And let me give you everyone else. Maybe feel free to keep your audio on, but mute your video.
Yeah, feel free to keep the audio on just because as performers, it's really weird to be performing into a dead, quiet void. So if you find something funny, feel free to laugh out loud. If you must mute yourself, you can do that as well.
Creepy breathing.
What's that? Creepy breathing? Yeah.
Let's do, okay, so Melissa, let's do that one, that scenario you just mentioned. The Melissa, you are the adult child of Jovi, and Jovi, Melissa, you're trying to convince your stubborn parent Jovi to pay attention to physical distancing guidelines.
Got it.
Okay, so that's you're calling your parent specifically to have this conversation. Great. And I will come in with dings whenever everyone else in the chat. Sorry, not the YouTube chat, but our own private Zoom chat. Please feel free to give lines suggestions that they're going to have to say when I ding.
So wait, can I just clarify? Jovi's the parent?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And everyone else in our chat, please give whatever random stuff you. Yeah, exactly. Ted just gave an example. Okay, Melissa, you go.
Jovi, Dad, I'm really glad I caught you on FaceTime because I need to talk to you.
Rebecca, you can talk to me about anything. My doors are always open. Rebecca, please, just talk to me.
Dad, I really appreciate that. And
ding.
I want you to know that there's snails everywhere, okay? Why are you out in a field? There's snails all over the place.
Rebecca, you're still young. I don't expect you to know this, but all my life, I've always been a snail enthusiast.
Dad, I know that, but there's a coronavirus pandemic on, okay? Can you go searching for snails in a few months when we have a vaccine?
But I believe the snails are the key to the vaccine, you see.
Ding.
You're out of toilet paper.
I know, Dad, but you're not gonna find any in that field. Okay? There's nothing worth using as toilet paper in that field. Come home.
Ding.
Come home because we're out of toilet paper. Like you said a minute ago. I'm reiterating that fact.
What if I told you I found a way to synthetically make toilet paper out of snail shells?
I'd say, Dad, the isolation's getting to you, okay? Because that's an absurd idea. That would hurt a lot. It would feel gross. You'd have to kill a lot of snails. I just don't think it's good.
Rebecca, I want you to be... Lawnmowers on sale at Costco.
Okay. Dad, now you're just changing the subject, okay? You're just avoiding talking about our problems.
Ding, ding.
Lawnmowers are on sale at Costco and XD, okay? XD. XD's problematic behaviors is what I'm telling you.
It's a millennial thing.
And end scene. So thank you to our... Here, I'll put my video back on. Let's do one more if we can get two, and we'll come up with a new scenario. Can we get two more brave volunteers? And then Melissa, why don't you're a little better at the timing than me. I'll have Melissa do the ding timing. Yep. Any brave new volunteers who want to? We have Lachlan and do I have a second?
You know you want to, Ted. Oh,
George. George. Okay. We'll do George and Lachlan. There's still going to be some more games, so there's definitely still time to jump in. So George and Lachlan. Why don't everyone else mute video? You do not have to, but if you feel like it, feel free to use one of the Zoom backgrounds.
And the scenario we're going to situate you guys in is a Zoom tutoring session. So George, you are a stubborn student. Lachlan, you are a beleaguered tutor trying to get your student to do their homework remotely over live. Okay. Your scene starts. Okay. Sorry, was there a question? No? Okay, great. Your scene starts now.
Okay, George, welcome to our Zoom seminar. My name is Mr. Lachlan. I'll be your tutor for today. Today we're going to be learning how to had to have no paper left because that's just how it runs sometimes in the office. So I'll be right back. I need to go grab some paper.
It's nice. Good.
George?
What? Do we really have to do this? I'm late. I'm late for my. Can I use your Netflix login?
I don't have an app, George. We're going to actually do a Zoom lesson, as I just mentioned.
Like
I said, we're trying to do a Zoom. I'm going to really focus because we're trying to get our education on point. If you're not going to cooperate, then we're not going to be able to learn. Oh, no. What do you mean, George? What do you mean, no?
You mean yes. Season of Gossip Girl?
That's not to the point, George. You need to focus.
Look, it just came out. I need to talk to my friends all about it.
Ding, ding.
Animal Crossing is
taking Animal Crossing is taking up all your time, George. That's the problem. You need to focus in class. You need to get educated. What do you want to do with your life?
I need to talk to all my villagers. It's been a week.
You don't need to do anything.
I'm going to leave.
No, you don't have to leave. You're going to force you to stay.
Look, I'm this close to getting golden roses. This close.
What do you mean there's a golden rose, George? Explain to me.
What?
Ding, ding.
You don't understand. I mean, Tom Nook is amazing. He's watching.
It's Tom Nook.
Scene. Well done. Wow. In that case, our random posts in the chat were quite on theme, actually. Doug, do we want to do it one more time quickly, or should we move on?
Yes, let's do one more, and then we're going to move on to the final game. Do we have two more? Let's get Ted, and can we get one person? Brave volunteer with Ted. Kwa. Let's do Kwa. And Melissa, I'll give this scenario. Is a job interview. So why isn't Kwa? You're at the company and you are interviewing Ted, who's applying for a job at whatever company. And Kwa also has a background, which is cool, which will add to this. All right, so I will mute my video. And remember, everyone start spamming your suggestions.
Can you guys hear me still? My video there we go. Exit minimized. Fixed it. Sorry.
Yep.
Hi, Ted. How are you today? Oh,
sorry. What's the prompt one more time? Because I was trying to fix you.
Ted, you are in a job interview. You are applying for a job, and Kwa is the person at this company interviewing you for this job. Sick.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Hi, Kwa.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
How are you, Ted? How are you today?
Good. Is my connection okay? You hear me here?
All good. No problem. Ding. I can hear you fine. Look, this might seem counterintuitive, but turtles are actually fantastic interviewers. I mean, I'm just stating that.
No, I totally agree. You know, a lot of my best friends have been turtles, and sometimes they tend to hide into their shells, but they're slow to answer.
Yeah. I agree. They can be a bit slow, but it's their methodological methods that takes them through really good questions.
Absolutely.
Anyway, tell me a little bit about you.
Ding.
Well, turtles are not biological. I just have to say before I talk about myself. But I've been working in this industry for about 5 years now.
Ding ding.
And back to turtles. They're actually mechanical in StarCraft 2. Not many people know that.
So is that what you liked about this? Like the fact that we work with turtles all day? And we have a really cool mech turtle program here in the company. I think you're really gonna like that, but
really
have you heard about that program?
Yeah, I read a little bit about it. Can you tell me more?
Yeah, so actually the program is called Turtle for Daddy. And we have this career progression path.
Are you like combining snails with turtles?
Yes, and what happens is something happens called turtle soup when you combine snails and turtles, and I think that's pretty relevant to your experience that you'll bring to the company.
Yeah, that turtles are false gods, but when you combine them with snail, right.
Well done, guys. That was really fun.
That was great.
Yeah, I love the way you guys did that. Ted, especially the way you made it like a point to return to. It almost felt like if anyone's ever been on a Zoom call with someone trying to get them to buy Cutco knives or something, it's like, by the way, real quick, back to turtles. Yeah, that was fun.
Melissa, why don't you debrief on that quickly, and then we can do the final game.
Yeah, just that this is what we would call a short form game. There's short form versus long form improv. This is short form, and the short answer to that distinction is that there are rules and limitations externally imposed upon the scene. The ones here being, when it dings, you have to read a nonsense line. One of the things I really like about this and some short form games in general is there's this concept I talk about called the double succeed. And what's fun about it is if you say a line and it makes no sense in the scene whatsoever, that's funny to us and you succeed. If you say a line and it fits in seamlessly and perfect, that's also funny to us and you succeed. So I think it's a really easy way to kind of ensure success regardless of the outcome.
And then you can kind of really feel now we're like taking advantage of multiple video chat properties, right? So the obvious one is like text chat, and we're like blurring that boundary between, it's not just performers on the stage, everyone's watching. It was actually kind of up to us as the viewers of, again, not on YouTube, but for those of us in the Zoom chats, typing in the right suggestions. And in fact, we saw that with the Animal Crossing with George and Lachlan, right? We were like, the chat was actually trying to steer somewhat collectively the conversation that way. But also, right, using Zoom backgrounds, that's like a really weird, very like Zoomy thing that you couldn't quite do as easily in person. Right?
No, in fact, when we improvise, we pride ourselves on having no props and no backgrounds. So it's quite different to have these tools to play with.
But I think, you know, when I have, from a game design perspective, have students make these kinds of games, one of the first questions you ask is like, well, what are all the properties of the platform we're using? So whether it's Zoom or Skype or Jitsi or whatever that is, right? All of these platforms actually have like weirdly specific technical limitations and also features that you can use. And so, you know, one thing we could do, we don't have time in this workshop, but if we did, one thing we could do is like, okay, everyone list a weird thing about Zoom that's a limitation or it's some cool feature. And like pretty soon we could come up with ways of like making games around those or incorporating them. Ted, I think you have your hand up.
No, I was just showing the reactions as well.
Just the side of the reactions. But good, right? Because like, again, Zoom has all these weird things, emoji reactions, or like putting your hand up, or muting your mic, or not muting your mic, right? So like all of these things we could start, right? So it's not just a direct translation of these folk games or improv games. In fact, you start adapting them more and more to the specificity. In our case, we're on a Zoom call right now. Let's do one more game that is like a kind of pair with Box Roulette. It's similar in some ways, but with a different kind of comedy mechanic guiding the story. Melissa, do you want to explain to us Overdubbed?
Yes, Overdubbed is an adaptation of another short form game, sometimes called foreign film dub. So in this one, similar to Box Roulette, we're going to take two performers and they can put a background of their choosing if they so desire. They don't have to. Then we are going to ask those performers to mute themselves, and we are going to have two other performers voicing for them as if they're speaking in a foreign film that we have dubbed. So the fun thing to keep in mind for this one, and we'll go into this more later, is it's not just the performers dictating what the voices do, it's a push and pull. So keep in mind, you know, if I move my mouth, you have to say words to fill it. And if you say words, I have to move my mouth to make them make sense. Can we get two volunteers to be the people with video on? Yeah, great. I see Jay and Grace. Grace, did you have your hand up or did I imagine that? Yes? Okay, Grace and Jay. Everyone else can get rid of their video in 1 moment. Can I have 2 volunteers to be the voices? I see Chad and I see Taylor. Was that a yes or was that a no?
That was me reacting to Kane's comment, but sure, I'll do it.
It's up to you. No pressure if you don't want to. Okay, Chad and Taylor then. So everyone who is not video performing, you can stop your video. Great. So Grace and Jay and Taylor and Chad. Taylor, will you please be the voice of Jay, and Chad, will you be the voice of Grace? This is a foreign romance film. So let that guide your actions and interactions however you see fit. The scene starts now.
Oh, Wendy, come on. Please take me back.
Oh, Jay, I just simply cannot. I've just gone through too much, and unfortunately, it's over for us.
Oh, come on. That time I set the kitchen on fire.
Oh, I know. But we turned things around and managed to save the kitchen, but my most dear possession was lost.
Me? I hated that vase.
That was my favorite vase. What do you mean you hated it?
I thought I was your favorite vase.
See, this is why we can't be together anymore.
You've really hurt my head specifically right now.
I don't really mind.
Scene. Well done. That was delightful.
That was great.
That was good.
Taylor, did you name Grace's character Gwendy?
Yeah, based on the mouth movements that Jay was making.
You said Gwendy
Very specific.
with a G?
Wendy.
Oh, okay. I really enjoy the name Gwendy, but Wendy's good too. That was wonderful. Let's give it another go. Do I have 2 volunteers to be the actors, the faces? Great. I see Mo. I need 1 more. I see Lewis.
Lewis, great.
Lewis and Mo. And 2 volunteers to be the puppet masters here, the voices. I see George. Anyone else? Need 1 more volunteer. I see Ted. Great. Wonderful. So if everyone who is not one of the main 2 actors could mute video. Yeah, Doug?
Should I give a scenario or do you want to give it?
Sure. Just give one different from our last one, like either an action movie or something.
So you're in an action movie and Mohammed, you're calling Lewis to Lewis is trying to figure out how to disarm a bomb. And you're there with the manual with the expert, kind of stepping Lewis in this critical, tense moment of disarming this bomb to save the building.
Great.
Okay.
And Ted, can you please voice Lewis, and George, can you voice Mohammed? Those were my volunteers, right? Doug, you have to get off screen.
Is Lewis or Mohammed who's the caller?
They're both.
Lewis is the caller.
So I guess we're using the structure of the FaceTime call, so you guys don't have to hold up phones like the video chat.
So if you've ever played the video game Keep Talking and No One Explodes, was the thing I was thinking about.
Lewis is trying to disarm the bomb. Is that correct? Okay, great. Get ready, Lewis. Here we go. Hey, Control! I've got this thing in front of me.
This is under control. Calm down.
Sorry, I'm standing next to a live bomb. It's here in my hands. I'm shaking it. It's not
all right,
disarming when I
right.
shake it.
Do not shake it. It is not your baby, okay?
Oh, okay. I'll put it down.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it
you
here on this
have,
table.
You have to hold it.
Oh,
or else
sorry.
you cannot reach. Look.
What? Okay, I'm holding it with both hands, so I
Okay.
could use my teeth, maybe
No,
to.
no, what?
Oh,
no teeth, no teeth. I'm very specific. You gotta tear open.
Turning it.
The paper.
Okay. I'm
and then
tearing open.
Yeah. Okay. Now you got the paper. Now you have to wrap it around. And
All
then
right.
just
So
kind of
I'm
hammer
wrapping
it down.
What do I wrap it around? Oh, hammering it. Okay, I'm hitting it.
All right, I'm just gonna check. One.
It's not stopping. It's making noises.
Look. Wait,
Okay,
I'm just Googling
the
at the moment.
screen has changed.
Oh.
It now it used to have numbers and it now has cracks
Stay
across
away.
it.
Look. I've got something. I'm sorry.
Control, is everything okay?
It's fine. It's fine.
Look, just look.
Look.
Look right here. Here's the bomb. I'm shaking it again.
Wait.
I know you told me not to.
Wait, look. Connect.
Okay.
The tail. Oh, just cut it off.
I have the tail right here, and I have the tail and the
Clean.
shears.
Look, you got it.
Oh, I just cut the tail off. There you go. Now what do I do with this?
Great job, guys.
I'm just gonna. Okay.
I think it's safe to say that bomb exploded.
Yeah, everyone.
The cuteness explosion. That was really great to have another cat cameo there.
Cats are the real hero of the
That's
day.
right.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That was great.
Melissa, why don't we debrief and then we can leave just a little bit of time for discussion with the group and any questions.
Yeah, great. So something I mentioned before we started playing that I'll just touch on briefly is this sense of push and pull. It's one of my favorite parts of improvising is, it goes back to that concept we talked about earlier, following the follower. It's no one is the one person in control or shouldn't be. It's like a beautiful dance back and forth. One place I see this play out a lot is I'm part of an improvised Shakespeare ensemble, and we often get period appropriate accompanists to come and sit on stage and play, these Shakespearean instruments while we perform. And it's a beautiful way to see this push and pull in action because the accompanist will play a sad song if we've initiated a sad scene. But the accompanist also might be like, we've had a lot of sad scenes. I'm going to play a fun song. And then it's up to us to pick up on that and perform a more lighthearted, upbeat song. So I picture this working in kind of a similar way. And it's really fun to see that control. It's a sport, it's a game, throwing it back and forth.
And then also just to think about the specificity of the platform. One of the things that I really like that you get on these video chat platforms is like the back channel reactions. And this is true in both our private Zoom call and in the YouTube, right? People going like laughing or like, oh, try this, or reacting. And that kind of like low level of visible but quiet reaction, you get some of that in person with gestures and facial expressions, but there's a specificity of being able to actually talk words to each other during the scene. So that multimodality of text and video and audio gives us this different kind of like cocktail of communication and back channel communication in a way that's pretty fun, I think. Well, great. There's only 13 minutes left, so I think we better not rush through another game, but maybe we could leave this with any comments or questions, both from the players here, and then also I'll look at the YouTube chat in case there's any questions there. But any questions like for Melissa about improv games or any ideas about the games we just played?
Ted, did you have a question?
Yeah, I thought with that last one, especially where it really took over, where I was trying to play off of two people, Lewis, because of course, like I'm watching what he's doing and trying to get him primed, but then also looking at Mohammed, and I could totally forget who was the voice behind Mo because it just becomes one other person. Right. So you're playing against both of those and trying to give them openings and trying to react. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting because when we do this on stage, you can see the other person being their voice. So that is an interesting thing to take into account. Normally, the way we would play this is there would be 2 actors on stage and 2 translators or dubbers on the side. So you might be actually splitting your focus between the performers and the other person. Another way we do this is, one way is like you just saw, but another is having the performers speak gibberish. So they're just saying kind of like nonsense phrases. And then that introduces another element because there's a delay, right? So the dubbing doesn't happen simultaneously. And then there's this fun element of spacing and timing where someone might say a very long gibberish phrase and the translator might just say no. And that gets a laugh as well. So there are like additional elements you can factor in here.
Hey, Mel.
Yeah.
Could you just give like a 5-second version of what your work in education history is?
Yeah, I am a stand-up comedian, sketch writer, improviser, freelance writer, and satirist. I am the director of an improvised genre ensemble here in Melbourne called Improvised Potter, and I also perform with improvised Jane Austen and improvised Shakespeare. My work is just freelance writing, improv, teaching, and performing at the moment. I did have a solo show that was going to make its debut at the Melbourne Comedy Festival in 2020, but that has been canceled. So the show has been postponed, and I don't know if I will be picking it up again because it was topical political satire and politics are shifting rapidly. So.
But if I can shout it out, Melissa's actually going to be later today at Freeplay. There's a panel at 5 p.m. Melbourne time of microtalks, and Melissa's going to give one of those microtalks about some of these. Melissa, maybe you should summarize.
Yeah, the talk is about gameplay constraint and genre-based improv. So I think there's a lot of relevant content. If anyone wants to tune in, that would be great.
Okay, fair enough. And did you do any education or anything like that, or how'd you get started?
I mean, I've studied improv with different theaters in the US and in Australia, including Second City, the Upright Citizens Brigade, the Improv Conspiracy in Melbourne, Laugh Masters Academy, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of like formal academic background, just a bachelor's.
And then
okay, cool.
Melissa, you do teach some classes for the local theaters here in Melbourne, is that right?
Yeah, I'm an improv and sketch teacher at Laugh Masters Academy in Melbourne, as well as on a couple house teams at other theaters. I should mention, although it's not an accredited degree, I did do like kind of a postgraduate certificate in comedy filmmaking at the Second City in Chicago. So.
And then just to jump in on that, I think it was really great for me learning about Melissa's world, which is like, oh wait, they play games all the time. Like that's what they do for fun and to train. And like, so there's this whole tradition of games that I didn't see getting talked about much in the kind of academic games world. A good place to start as an author, for anyone out there who's interested, I can put this in the YouTube chat as well. Viola Spolin, who has these, and Melissa's really familiar with this, obviously, these books of theater games, which is like just an amazing source of, I think, gameplay inspiration for game designers as well in terms of social, physical games. So it's just like, it blows your mind. You're like, oh yeah, there are these like huge traditions of play and games out there, just because the world is so big and messy, that often get kind of left off the radar of like classic game design. It was just another reminder. And I think that's like the hope with this workshop. Oh, that's right. All these traditions actually have a lot more in common with each other than we think. And it can be cool to like join forces. Yeah. Jovi has his hand up.
Douglas, how do you find, like, how does game design fit in with, how does improv fit in with game design?
Yeah, I think it might not be clear to some people, but it probably depends on also what genre you're making. So for example, I was working on a bunch of multiplayer games with like physical technologies. And I think that's really inspiring to like a big thing as a game designer. How do you make failing fun? I think a lot of the best multiplayer games make the failure state, whether that's through like a funny sound effect or through the mechanics or whatever that is, that's just like an, oh yeah, that's like a thing that makes social games way better. And I think that's a really good concrete lesson from improv. So that's like maybe a more abstract answer, but I think there are all sorts of lessons like that, almost more like reminders. Oh, that's right. I have to remember in my game when I'm playtesting this, I'm looking for failure itself to be fun. That's how I'll know that my game is like kind of working or something. And I think playing these improv games helps remind you of these principles. So that's easy to forget, I think, when making social game multiplayer games. Kane has his hand up.
First, really importantly, Chad, is your jumper from Uniqlo?
No, it's not. No, it's a t-shirt designed by Elizabeth Simmons. It's
sorry, I'm an Australian. When I say jumper, I mean hoodie.
Oh, you mean this? Yes, it is from Uniqlo. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Melissa, I think we have a mutual friend, Lance Turnbull. He does, yeah.
Oh,
so he's the one that
Lance
got
told
me
me
onto
you
this.
might be popping in. Great.
So he's told me about improv being like a comedy gin. I was wondering if you could speak more to that concept.
Yeah, I think it always depends on the kind of comedy you want to make. But if you're interested in improv as a means to an end in of itself, definitely that. Also, if you're interested in sketch, I think a lot of the ideas we generate through improv translate really well to sketch. I think you can also use improv as a tool for sketch idea generation. That's a contentious point within the industry because some people think, improv is not a tool to be used for other things. It is an art in of itself, which I think it can be both. But yeah, I think it does teach you to tap into those listening skills, not just to the funny things other people say, but the funny things going through your own mind, and teaches you how to implement those. And even if in the moment they're not implemented in the best way, it teaches you how to save those idea kernels for later and really develop them into comedic premises.
Ted has his hand up.
So this is specifically for Doug, but Melissa, your thoughts as well. Within physical games and board games, because you don't have to implement codified rules, it's relatively easy to introduce spontaneity and get the same kind of things we get from improv in those experiences. Have you seen any specifically digital experiences that have done a good job of embracing improv and spontaneity? What are some examples, and what are some ways that you can encourage developers to break out of the strictures of their own code and allow for emergent play and have that be rewarded?
Yeah, good question. I almost feel like it's a big silver platter for me. So for example, we can think. I made a motion control game some years ago called Johann Sebastian Joust that uses these accelerometers, and this was, and by the way, this is well before I met Melissa and learned a lot about improv. Originally, this was a game where we're like, oh, we're gonna do a racing game, and the first person to race across the room without jostling the accelerometer too much wins. The initial conception was still very much inspired by video games. Like, oh, we'll do this kind of classic racing games with these kind of rules about, and then obviously, inevitably, the more we play tested this, the more it was just more fun to like kind of push the person that you were racing against, even though like you weren't supposed to or whatever. And then we kind of suddenly realized, oh wait, no, this is just this isn't really a racing game. It's a physical jostling game. And in fact, the rules about what is it cheating for me to push my friend? What is overly physical play, or how do we get everyone to kind of consent to the right amount of physicality? I think the lesson was like, well, no digital system is going to be able to like fully implement comfort or safe spaces for you. So can we make a game that's kind of trying to inspire the players like really explicitly, hey, this is on you to kind of decide how much physicality is okay. Like kind of what level of contact do we want or do we not want? Like obviously if I play that game with a little kid, I'm going to play really differently than when I'm playing with my best friends who like playing physically, where it is actually okay for me to like totally push them or throw a shoe at them or something. And so for sure, and I think this is a lesson from improv as game designers, there's this bigger question, how constrained do the rules need to be or not, right? Because also if I give you just like a blank page and I go, well, you make your own game, you'll have this kind of writer's block. Oh, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to perform. But through these constraints, and we saw this with the last two games, right? These various mechanics to help inspire people. So I think the question is always, how many rules do I need to inspire enough creative play readily without prescribing it? So what is that perfect balance between flexibility but not too open-ended so that people have trouble coming up with things? And that's, I think, again, improv games are a really useful example of trying to really kind of walk this thin line between too much freedom and too many rules. Melissa, does that kind of track with when you come up with improv exercises?
Yeah, and I would say also my talk kind of addresses this in the context of Jackbox games and sort of like adapting those for improvisers. But yeah, that all tracks with my experience.
Yeah. And yet again, in her talk later today, Melissa's actually going to be talking about adding additional constraints to the video game Jackbox. So in the same way, we can actually bring our extra constraints to existing games and kind of like reshape them. And so game design isn't just about the games we make through code or whatever, as kind of Ted is implying. It's also like an attitude towards, well, if we get in the habit of playing well together, we can actually modify whatever games we're playing, whether it is super code based or it's just a ball or whatever that is, to approach them in new ways that make it more fun for the group. And I think, this is something that I try to impart on my student. And then I know, Chad, we have to wrap this up. But that attitude that you go into play, that you train playing well with other people, is a super important part, I think, of making games that are going to be fun for other people. And so I hope that through whether it's training improv performers or it's training game designers or something, just getting in the habit of playing in fun ways and improvising new rules and performances with people. It's almost like and I mean, this gets to the gym comment. It's like building up kind of good habits for like thinking about what is actually fun for people or not. And well, it doesn't have to be fun per se, but like engaging. So yeah, maybe that ties together a few of the questions. Can I give a huge thanks to all our very brave players and performers here.
Thank you guys so much.
Super really appreciate it. And a big thanks to Chad and to Freeplay. As always, it's a huge honor to be a part of the festival. And thank you to all the work under, I might add, under very challenging circumstances. I know specifically Chad here has had to like figure out how to put everything online. So round of applause for Chad and for the whole Freeplay staff as well. So big thanks.
And a huge thank you to Melissa and Doug for hosting such a fun and engaging workshop online even. Yeah, great.
Thanks everyone. We'll hang out a little bit in the Zoom chat, but I guess Chad will close down.
Special thanks to Lucha because she was the real star of the show.
There she is. Thanks everyone. Chad, let us know when it is off of YouTube.
Because then we'll say how we really feel.
Yeah, no, just we can like